This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community. Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and it's my goal here on the podcast to introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. Our title sponsor is Community Matters, Inc. With nearly 20 years in the chamber industry and over 100 media awards presented to their chamber partners, Community Matters provides the R&R that every chamber needs, revenue and recognition. When it comes to publishing a chamber map, directory, or community guide, Community Matters has a trusted experience to help your chamber accomplish your goals. With different advertising sales models and publication styles, Community Matters will help you create a non-dues revenue machine. To learn how Community Matters can support your chamber with your next publication, please visit communitymattersinc.com/podcast to request your free media kit and request a proposal to find out what kind of non-dues revenue you can generate. You're joining us for a special episode in our 2024 ACCE Chamber of the Year Finalist Series. And our guest for this episode is Chris Romer. Chris serves as the president and CEO of Vail Valley Partnership, or the VVP. Vail Valley Partnership is a regional chamber of commerce, destination sales organization, and economic development organization representing Eagle County, Colorado, and was named Chamber of the Year by ACCE in 2016 and 2020. As CEO of the Vail Valley Partnership, he brings a wealth of experience in strategic planning, business development, and partnership building to the organization. With a deep understanding of the unique challenges and opportunities facing Colorado's mountain region, Chris is dedicated to driving innovation and collaboration to ensure the continued success and sustainability of local businesses and communities. Chris is a macroscopic thinker who believes in tackling big issues through localized solutions. He's a graduate of the U.S. Chamber Foundation's IOM program and is a WACE certified chamber executive. He's also been named a top 25 mind in hospitality sales, marketing, and revenue management by Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International. Chamber Executive of the Year by the Colorado Association of Chamber of Commerce and Industry Colorado Chamber Executives, and was named a Pettit Award winner by the Western Association of Chamber Executives. Chris is a respected voice in the chamber and economic development fields and is known for his ability to bring stakeholders together to achieve common goals. Chris is committed to making positive impact within the Vail Valley and on a broader scale, serving on advisory boards and participating in initiatives aimed at advancing community prosperity and enhancing quality of life. Chris, first of all, congratulations to you and your team on this great accomplishment of being named a ACCE Chamber of the Year finalist again. That's a huge feat, but welcome to the show. I'll give you a chance to say hello to all the listeners out there, and I'd love to have you share something interesting about yourself as well as we kick this off.
Yeah, Brandon, thank you so much. And it is such an honor to be recognized by ACCE as a finalist for Chamber of the Year. It's such a testament to the people and the board and the community that we represent. And it's something that we never ever take for granted. We really try to keep our foot on the proverbial gas pedal to move things forward and to represent the interest of our business community. So such a great opportunity to share a little bit of our story with you and to be recognized by ACCE for those community programs and community impact that we strive to make. So thank you so much. I also certainly realize that an interesting thing about me is probably the fact that I can't write a short bio. That bio was awfully long and awkward. So I would love to have a second crack at that and just keep it a whole lot shorter so we could talk about the fun stuff, because talking about me, not so much fun. Talking about our chamber and our community and our programs, a whole lot more interesting to people.
Well, I could agree with that. Talking about the great work you guys are doing is much more impactful and meaningful anyway. But it is fun to get to know the background on you, and I'll share a fun fact. I think you are the first three-peat on Chamber Chat podcast. So there should be. I feel like there should be a trophy or something for you for being the first.
I'll take a trophy.
Right.
If this trophy is being handed out, I would love to take a trophy for being the first three-time visitor or three-time guest on the Chamber Chat podcast.
Yes, you deserve it. So, well, tell us about your great team there, the Vail Valley Partnership, the work you guys are involved with, the size of your staff, budget, scope of work, all of that as we get into our discussion today.
Yeah, we're really fortunate. I have a great team. We have a team of 8 full-time and 2 part-time employees. We are located in Edwards, Colorado. That's Eagle County, Vail and Beaver Creek ski resorts, home to Vail and Beaver Creek ski resorts for those who might not know what Edwards or know where Eagle County might be. But we're right in the heart of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. We have, you'd asked about our budget and membership size. We have just under 800 members. And our community is about 55,000 people, and that represents nine towns. And we're a countywide regional organization. Our annual budget is about $1.3 million per year. And I think the last part of what you had asked for in regards to giving people a perspective, we are a program-driven chamber. We're a program-driven chamber. We have multiple 501c6s, we have C3s, we have these different initiatives, and we branch them off. And we'll talk a little bit about more about this, I think, as we go through the podcast. But very program driven, and it reflects in how we approach problems, and that leads to some of our retention and other components that we may or may not touch on. But we're a very program driven group, and we're not afraid to take big swings. We take some really big swings within our community, and sometimes we strike out, and sometimes we hit a double, and occasionally we hit a home run.
Yeah, I think chamber work should be about those big swings, making an impact. If you're not swinging big, what kind of impact are you making, right? So I'm excited to dive into this. So on these Chamber of the Year Finalist series, for those who may not be familiar with the format, I like to really focus on the 2 programs, being program driven. We'll focus on the 2 programs that were submitted on your Chamber of the Year application and dive into some detail around those and why they worked for Vail Valley. And we'll dive into this as soon as I get back from this quick break. Are you looking for a year-round, affordable, and timely shop local campaign for your chamber or CVB? Look no further. Build a custom Eat, Shop, Play mobile app with App My Community by visiting appmycommunity.com/chamberchat. App My Community mobile apps are not just simple membership directory listings. They provide many more capabilities to engage with your community. Provide your residents with a robust events calendar. Partner with a local fair, festival, or farmers market to provide a schedule, map, and other resources to promote the event. Run a small business Saturday campaign any time of the year using built-in scavenger hunts. Allow your membership to communicate directly to their customers via push notifications. Your App My Community mobile app will be a unique member benefit, allow you to generate non-dues revenue with sponsorship opportunities, and best of all, provide a valuable resource to your community. Please visit appmycommunity.com/chamberchat now to receive 10% off your first year of an App My Community mobile app. Are you struggling to manage your Chamber of Commerce and build a thriving commerce community? Chamber Nation is here to help. Their all-in-one platform allows you to easily manage member information, events, and communication. Plus, their community engagement tools help you communicate with local businesses and residents to drive economic growth. With Chamber Nation, you'll have everything you need to succeed. So why wait? Visit richardscalendar.com to learn more and start building. All right, Chris, we're back. So let's dive into these programs that you submitted on the Chamber of the Year application. I know it can be tough sometimes to kind of narrow down the focus and what you want to put on the application and really highlight the work that you guys are doing. But how did you land on these two programs, and what are they?
Yeah, it's, how we landed on them is a little bit what I talked about earlier in the podcast around taking big swings and recognizing that big ideas require big solutions. Both of our synopses, both of our case studies are around that idea that big ideas require big solutions. So our first synopsis is the Eagle Valley Transportation Authority, where we led the Yes for Transit ballot campaign to create a transportation authority, which is something that had been lacking in our community. Our second synopsis is the Eagle County Collaborative for Career Pathways. That is a talent pipeline workforce initiative in partnership with our K-12 school system to identify and train young people into the jobs that our community needs.
Yeah. So just from our background and having you on the show a couple times before, I guess I have a little bit of maybe added perspective, I think, about your community and why these two programs specifically would be of importance. But let's dive in a little bit more on the Regional Transit Authority. Why was that a hot topic? Why was that a big swing in your community? What was the need, and how did you guys go about addressing that?
Yeah, it's so important for us. So we started this process actually before the pandemic. We had brought together. We recognized our population is growing. Our ski resorts need to be world-class destinations. Our visitors are continuing to come, and yet our community growth strained our housing and transportation systems and our ability to move our workforce from one side of our valley to the other. We're about a 40-mile long valley and about 1.5 miles wide, right? We're surrounded by mountains and national forest on two sides. So we're a long linear valley, and our housing prices, our median housing price is $1.3 million. So we really needed a transportation system that could effectively and efficiently move our workforce up and down our valley, where housing is a little bit less expensive on the western end. So our basic premise is that improved transit supports workforce. It helps our residents get to work, home, and school. It allows our visitors to better enjoy their experience. And this is a regional issue that required a regional solution. So we initiated the business community. We brought together our local municipalities and county. Some of them run their own transit authorities, but there was nothing collaborative and nothing that was truly valley-wide. So we did focus groups. We did phone surveys of voters. We looked at what different models exist for funding transportation. We looked at 18 different models and governance structures, and landed on the Regional Transportation Authority as our best bet forward. Then we looked at how do you fund this thing, and we could have done a property tax or a sales tax, and we made the decision to move forward. We made the call in June of 2022 to go to the ballot in November. At the time, it's hard to think about now, at the time, inflation was at 9.2%. So when we talk about having courage and taking big swings, we said we're going to go to the ballot and we're going to ask people for a sales tax to fund this. And by the way, knowing inflation was over 9%. Yeah. And we made that call. Unfortunately, inflation dropped a little bit by the time we had the election, but we passed in November of 2022 pretty overwhelmingly. I think because we really helped tell the story and identified the need and what this would create. As we sit here today, we have a complimentary free bus system that runs the length of our valley, ridership for this past winter season was up 164% over the previous model. And it's saving people time and money.
That's amazing. It's just to be able to see it through too. So a lot of times when we're talking about these programs and maybe leading a ballot initiative, you haven't seen it all the way through to this point, but being that you've been able to lead that, been able to collect the data, have a successful ballot measure, and then to be able to see the results, the fruit of it right now happening throughout your valley. That's amazing. And I'm sure you're seeing economic tickers, the different, indicators that you can measure to see the impact throughout the community as well.
We're able to see the increase in ridership. We're able to see how many routes are scheduled, how they're completed. We did include funding for air service development in our ballot initiative. That's a program that we've run for years at the chamber, and we always fundraised for. So we actually baked that into the ballot question to fund that. And we have 2 new flights this summer that we're able to use that funding to support 2 new air service flights. So we're seeing the benefits on a local level, from a workforce standpoint, from a visitor standpoint. And we have long-term enhancements that are baked into this as well, which included affordable workforce housing for transit employees and included zero emissions conversion to help meet our climate goals for our region. So we're really excited about not just the bus transportation, which is a big part of it, but the secondary components that were able to be part of that ballot initiative and were part of our storytelling around air service development and increasing opportunities for visitors to get here and locals to go on vacation and to help achieve our climate goals. So we're really, this was a big swing for all the reasons we talked about, and a really nice success story that is helping make people's lives easier.
Yeah. So with the bus system, it's a free transit, right? So is there a way to track when people get on, how long they're on, or is it just kind of hop on, hop off as you go? And
no, there's bus counters. There's counters to know what the ridership is and how it increased. In January, for example, of 2024, we had over 218,000 unique riders on the bus. And that's an increase from 167,000 the year before. Wow. In the same time frame in January. So we're huge ridership increases, and we're paying for it through the sales tax instead of having people pay a fare. And we have new routes because of the new authority and able to bridge a lot of what the individual communities were already doing to provide that connectivity.
Yeah. So as far as bringing workforce into the valley, are you able to see that direct tie-in where they're coming from the west side of the valley, like you'd mentioned?
Yeah, we are. We again, we saw a 64% increase in transit ridership from the lower part of our valley. That's so awesome. we can track that. The new authority tracks it. They share it with us. Our work is kind of done on this one. Yeah. But yes, it's a huge success, and the community recognizes the role that the chamber played in initiating, leading, and passing this ballot initiative to create the new authority.
That's great. And it's always nice when you can hand it off when it's done and you don't have to keep ownership of it ongoing, right?
We at the chamber, at the partnership, we might be experts on our community, and we're certainly experts on convening leaders in order to get things done. We're certainly an expert on being a catalyst for business growth. We are not an expert on how to run a transportation authority. Right. So we're happy to hand this one off.
Absolutely. Well, let's switch gears to the second program that was submitted on the application around building that talent pipeline, and kind of, again, the origins of it and how it developed and the impact that it's making in the community.
Yeah, so the second synopsis was the Eagle County Collaborative for Career Pathways. And that is a program that had grown and morphed. We've been running youth apprenticeship programs for a number of years We have a very successful youth apprenticeship model. We're involved with career exploration in partnership with another local nonprofit in our school system. And this, we really recognize that there were a handful of us doing great work, and there was still an opportunity gap at the end. So we work in sync to create viable, affordable, alternative pathways to get people into high quality careers, with the idea that those need to be transparent about the outcomes and the cost, help young people obtain their relevant job skills, and ensure that employers value, recognize, and hire from the kids that we put through this pathway. So in Eagle County specifically, Brandon, our businesses show an average 10% gap in securing and retaining young professionals across industry sector, with healthcare and education rising to near 30% levels of that gap. So working with our business community, our school district, youth serving nonprofit agencies, we're able to target those key sectors and build the collaborative. We were very fortunate to receive $1 million grant by which to do this work, but with the idea to strengthen the systems that already support the career pathways, increase student readiness to pursue pathways, and increase students' exploration and experience in career exploration and exploring those career opportunities. So it's a really nice partnership. It's a really meaningful program with very tangible results.
Yeah. I think that's a struggle that a lot of chambers have, is trying to retain the workforce. That you put them through K through 12, and for whatever reason, it's like these students graduate high school and they want to move on to the bigger and brighter things outside of the community they grew up in, right? And what can we do to try to keep them local, to show them how great this community is, and maybe they go away to school somewhere or get some kind of education, but bring them back. It is such a key to be able to entice them, show them what there is in the community, to bring them back, why it's a place for them. So having a program like this, I think, really hits on those points of need, and I could see being something that, and I know a lot of chambers have some sort of a workforce development, pipeline or program with the school districts and whatnot, but to be able to draw that attention and keep them in the community it is so key. So I think this is great work that you guys are involved with this program specifically. Does anything else stand out to you with this program as far as trying to retain this workforce here? Is there any kind of secret sauce that you're seeing that's really been the aha kind of moment, or just with how the partnership is developed, that has really made a big impact?
I think so. I think the secret sauce, or the aha moment, is that this needs to be a program that is business centric, right? It can't be a program that is just a feel good or a do good for the kids. It has to benefit the business, and it has to strengthen the systems that support not only the career pathways for students, but solves problems for the businesses. And I think that's a big component that sometimes when we think about workforce, even in the chamber business, inherently to serve the needs of our businesses, but we ask businesses to donate their time. We ask businesses to donate their expertise, instead of flipping that equation and saying, we're going to do this for the business, and it happens to help the kids. We do it for the business. We do everything we do to build a stronger community and stronger businesses. The kids and the career pathway is a way to build stronger businesses. It's not asking the businesses to help kids.
Yeah, I think that is a key. I'm glad you made that point, that distinction, because I think it's easy to look at the kids and be like, oh, we want to help give them a good career. And that's noble. That's
and of
great
course we do.
But yes,
Of course we do, but that's a secondary outcome. That's not the primary purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. So you get the businesses on board by letting them know this is about you. This is about strengthening your business and providing good talent, to keep you strong. So I'm glad you made that distinction. That's great. So I like, especially as a Chamber of the Year finalist, I think chambers can look at you as kind of the top of the game right now, as a Chamber of the Year finalist. And for a chamber listening who's trying to elevate their chamber up to the next level, what kind of tips or strategies might you offer for listeners to try to accomplish that goal and to try to give their organization that boost they're looking for?
Yeah, it's such a great thought challenge for chambers of commerce to think, what is that one tip? What's that one thing you would share? And I'm going to answer that by suggesting and challenging chambers to move away from thinking that what we do fixes technical challenges in our community. We don't have technical challenges. Technical challenges are things that can be fixed by engineers. They can be fixed by surgeons and people with specific training. There's not too many of us that came into this business trained to run a chamber of commerce, right? We're trained in a more of an adaptive way. So that's my takeaway. Recognize that you have adaptive challenges, not technical challenges. And let me expand on that a little bit, because I expect that doesn't make much sense without context. When we think of adaptive challenges, the things that we face in our community, maybe it's early childhood, transportation or workforce, maybe it's homelessness. It could be any number of different things. We have the what. So then the question is, so what? Right? So what?
Right.
That's a problem. And then it's now what? How are we going to do that? So the framework and the challenge to listeners thinking about adaptive challenges is learning the what, listening, taking action. I think we collectively do a great job listening. Every chamber listening to this listens to their businesses, listens to their community, does surveys, they listen. It's the question of taking action. How do we take action? How do we identify the steps to take action? The two last parts I'll add on this is adaptive challenges have long-term implications. They're not transactional. They're not, we're going to do this. They have long-term community benefit, long-term benefit to the chamber, to the community, to the businesses. And we're really never, ever going to fix, quote unquote, fix an adaptive challenge. All the things I listed, early childhood, workforce housing, workforce development, talent pipeline, it's homelessness. When we say fix, what we mean is make better. Yeah. Chambers have a very unique positioning and a position of trust within their communities to tackle these adaptive challenges that are hard, they're long-term, and fixing, the end zone always moves. So fixing these challenges really means making it better. And that changes year after year, initiative after initiative. It never really goes away. And that creates stability, and that should hopefully create fundraising opportunities and grant funding and membership retention and all the things. So that's my one takeaway. And it was a really long answer, but I really want to share that if we can do that and we can shift our thinking away from technical into adaptive, that chambers are going to fly. We're going to thrive because we're going to be so uniquely positioned that no one can do what we do.
Yeah. So I like the idea that adaptive challenges have long-term implications. And I know you mentioned at the beginning of the episode about retention, and that kind of plays into here. Is there more you wanted to touch on with the aspect of retention before we wrap things up?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that if anything, it's really just when we talk about retention, There's so many ways to spin that. Retention of employees, retention of people in our communities, retention of business, retention of membership. I think if we as chambers have this mind frame of tackling big problems in our community and approaching it in an adaptive, relationship-driven manner, then our work becomes central to the success of the community. And if we become central to the success of the community, we have solved retention at each of those levels that I talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So the question I ask everyone as I have on the show is about the future of chambers, which I think you kind of touched on with your tip there, but how do you see the future of chambers and their purpose going forward?
Yeah, I did lead into this a little bit or leak into this, if you will. But I think the future of chambers is really, really bright with a caveat. And that caveat is if we roll up our sleeves and tackle the big problems. Our purpose needs to be around that problem solving. And again, when I say problem solving, I mean making things better versus traditionally fixing things. But we can make things better. I think all the finalists that you're going to be talking to throughout this series probably have one, if not both of their synopsis focusing on how they made their community better. And I think that's a lesson for everybody within the chamber business. And if we can focus on our purpose being problem solving and how we do that, knowing that it's really hard, knowing that it's long-term, knowing that it causes some sleepless nights, knowing that it's probably not going to go over well with everybody in our community, and we're going to have the courage to do those things, boy, the future of chambers is so bright.
Yeah. And courage is important in that, as you mentioned. So absolutely. Swing big and have courage. Chris, this has been fun to have you back on Chamber Chat Podcast. I love the pieces of advice you share, the experiences you have, and especially the impact you guys are making there in the Vail Valley. I'd like to give you an opportunity to share any contact information for listeners who'd like to reach out and connect with you and learn more about what you guys are doing there at the VVP. What would be the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, you can find all of my contact information on our website at vailvalleypartnership.com. That's vailvalleypartnership.com. I can be reached at CRomer, ROMER, at vailvalleypartnership.com. And you can find me on most of the social channels, and my phone number's on the website as well, and all of that. But vailvalleypartnership.com is your best place to go.
Very good. So back from episode 21, I think was your first appearance, and we're at episode 285 now. But this has been a blast, Chris. Thanks for being with us again here on Chamber Chat Podcast today, and wish you and your team the best of luck.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
If you are a chamber professional, please subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. When you subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast, new episodes will show up in your podcast app each week as they are released. If you're finding value in this podcast, please leave us a rating and a review in iTunes. But most importantly, please share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues that are in the industry.